What is the best weapon for each character in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Let's go over that, and luckily there are only a few weapons that you actually have to go out of your way to find. The others can be easily looted from the purple chest in mostly obvious spots. If you miss them during a chapter though, you can always check any weapon store and buy it from there later. And another thing worth noting is how weapon levels work. These can unlock better stats and new skills that can be viewed in the upgrade weapons tab, so if anything in the video looks different than in your game, it's probably because you're at a different weapon level. You can increase these by earning skill points, which are earned from leveling up, and by purchasing the various skill books you can find throughout the game. So I want to go over Cloud's weapons first, and the interesting thing in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is of course that even if you don't like a weapon's stats, you can still add its ability to your arsenal by equipping the weapon and spamming the move. So on that note, using the sleek saber you can find in chapter 2 is great for unlocking the Firebolt Blade ability. It's a powerful offensive ability that absolutely nukes any human enemies. Similarly, you want to use the Igneous Saber in chapter 11, as this unlocks the powerful ranged ability Blade Burst. But yeah, while you want to get all of them to get all the abilities, if we want to pick an actual best weapon, we need to look at the weapon skills. And in that regard, I think the Umbral Blade you find in chapter 8 is the absolute best. And that's because it has two amazing weapon skills that work with pretty much any playstyle. Reprieve prevents you from being downed once per battle, meaning you will survive a fatal hit and stay at 1 HP instead. Meanwhile, Bloodsucker restores 5% HP when defeating enemies in battle, so both skills are great at keeping you in the fight. Next, let's look at Aerith's weapons, and unlike Cloud, she actually has one that can't be looted from a purple chest and also won't become available in a weapon shop. Instead, it's tied to a side quest which starts in chapter 12 over here on the map, and it's called Lament of the Damned. Part of this quest is a combat simulator which will have some new challenges after you complete Lament of the Damned. Complete those two and a secret room will open up with tons of loot, including the Plumos Rod for Aerith. You might remember its ability Ray of Judgment from Remake. It's a powerful laser beam that also increases the damage you deal against a staggered target if you use it in a stagger window. And I think lasers are the name of the game for Aerith in Rebirth, as I also really love the Radiant Ward ability that increases your base attack power by adding a volley of lasers to it. You get that one from the Empress's Scepter you can find in chapter 4. Now when it comes to her best weapons, it kind of depends on your playstyle. I use Aerith mainly as a support, so the chapter 10 weapon Ceremonial Staff gives me the life-saving reprieve, an increase to my ward duration, and altruistic buff up, which increases the duration of buffs by 25%. If you'd rather spec Aerith for damage, the chapter 13 Staff Gambentine offers you reprieve as well, but it also has damage buffs and an ATB charge rate increase that work much better with an offensive playstyle. And speaking of offense, one of the best characters for the job is of course Tifa, and you definitely want to go out of your way to grab her missable weapon, the Dragon Claws, in chapter 8. The way to get them is to get a score higher than 42,000 in the Desert Rush minigame, which shouldn't prove too much trouble. But the ability you get from these gloves is amazing, as Star Shower is not only a powerful attack, it also enhances the damage of your next command, so if you use it as part of a combo, it becomes even more valuable. So follow it up with a powerful skill like True Strike, which you get from the chapter 13 weapon Yarn Griper to get the most out of it. Now picking a best weapon for Tifa was a bit more difficult than for the other characters, as they all offer some amazing offensive boosts. In the end, I settled for the Dragon Claws thanks to their high base physical damage and the variety of buffs available on the weapon. You can buff attack power, attack damage, magic attack power, weapon ability damage, so a damage buff for pretty much every type of attack. The most valuable in my opinion are the increased ATB charge rate, so you can spam more abilities, and enhanced techniques, which boost the damage of your Rise and Fall Omni Strike uppercut combo by 15%. So yet another reason to go out of your way and grab this amazing weapon. But every good party needs a good tank of course, and while Barrett was the go-to guy in Remake, in Rebirth we can also have Red 13 take that role. He also has one item locked behind a minigame, and it's the chapter 6 soccer minigame Running Wild. Getting first place gets you the silver collar, and more importantly, its ability Chilling Roar, which is decent enough. It summons some ice shards that counterattack when you get hit, which also fills the vengeance gauge, so nice to have active but not a game changer by any means. But Red has some must-have abilities on his various other colors, including one that pretty much carried me through the entire game, Watcher's Respite. It allows you to heal your entire party by spending expanding your vengeance gauge, which you of course fill by blocking attacks. With a full gauge, you have a very powerful heal that only costs 1 ATB, no MP, and targets every member of your party. So as soon as you get the golden collar in chapter 9, make sure to unlock this ability right away. Similarly, supernatural fervor from the amethyst collar that you can find during the Of Robed Men and Ransom side quest in chapter 7 is pretty great. Luckily, you can also buy it from a weapon vendor later, as you really want supernatural fervor in Red's arsenal. It costs 2 ATB and can only be activated while in vengeance mode, but unlike Watcher's Respite, it does not consume your vengeance meter and gives the haste buff to your entire party. So Red works best as a support tank hybrid in my experience, and the best weapon for that playstyle is the chapter 13 collar Brisingamen. It has 2 buffs that are perfect for these 2 powerful abilities. One increases the charge rate of the vengeance meter when you block an attack, the other increases the duration of any buff we apply as Red, so that includes the haste from supernatural fervor. And if you don't want to miss our next tips, tricks and item videos, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it so far. But even with a new tank in the party, don't sleep on Barrett's abilities to keep the squad alive either. The best skill for this is Lifesaver, which allows you to temporarily increase your HP and also take damage intended for other party members. So basically, when a party member gets hit, Barrett uses part of his own health pool to heal them and take the damage instead. You get this one from the Barrage Blaster in chapter 7. Now Barrett also has a weapon that's tied to optional content, the Fafnir rifle, which you can get by completing the chapter 9 side quest Pursuit of Perfection in Gongaga that you can pick up from the notice board. Unfortunately, the weapon ability point blank on it is not that good, nor are the weapon skills, so you really only want this one to complete your moveset. No, in fact, when it comes to his best weapon, I would again recommend you pick up the Barrage Blaster, as it has some weapon skills that make the Lifesaver ability even stronger. For starters, Overcharge Protection gives you a defensive buff when you use Barrett's Overcharge ability, so that will already help with tanking. Then, once Lifesaver is active, Barrett's effectively the only party member that can take damage. So stacking Selfish Recovery on top to make sure that all the healing he receives is increased makes a lot of sense. And then finally, by picking up Overload Overcharge, we can decrease the downtime of Overcharge, which means we can apply a shield to ourselves more often too. But my favorite character to play has been Yuffie so far, and she's also got a weapon that you don't find in a purple chest. It's called the Crescent Sickle, and it's tied to a quest called the Bonds of Trust, and it starts in chapter 10 at Camaria's Ranch in Cosmo Canyon. This quest eventually takes you to a training course where you have to get the target score to earn the weapon. Now unfortunately, the Crescent Sickle's ability Shooting Star is not that great, as it doesn't deal a lot of damage when bouncing around to different enemies. But Yuffie does have 2 absolutely must-have weapon skills in my opinion, those being Doppelganger and Banishment. Doppelganger summons a clone of yourself that mimics your actions, including attack actions, and you get that one from the Bird of Prey, which can be found during chapter 9. And this ability pairs very well with the Banishment skill, which is a powerful damage ability that uses your current ninjutsu element and becomes stronger the more ATB you spend. You get that one from the Crystalline Cross weapon you find in chapter 12, and I'd argue that's also Yuffie's best weapon in general. Its magic attack power increase is nice, as your ninjutsu attacks count as magical, but the big standout is Brave Thief, which triggers the damage buff Brave when successfully stealing an item. Pair that with the Faithful Thief skill from her folio that triggers the Faith buff when stealing, and you can instantly trigger a physical and magic damage buff with one ability that costs no MP. So while it is a bit situational, since it only works if you actually steal something, it can really help to boost your damage. And if you want to make it even crazier, equip the Hermes Boots accessory to also start a battle with haste so you can fill your ATB even quicker. We talked about that one in our items you don't want to miss video, we'll link to it in the video description. And the final character that is added to your roster is Cait Sith. A lot of his character is based on RNG, so it makes sense that one of the skills you get from his weapons, Lady Luck, gives a party-wide increase to crit chance. You get this one in chapter 12, where you first have to do the side quest at the Chocobo farm over here on the map, and then you need to find 45 tufts of Chocograss. These are found floating above water and sometimes in caverns or other spots you can only reach with the regional Chocobo special ability. After that, return to the Chocobo store counter and retrieve the weapon. I found it great when paired with the fortune telling ability from the Iron Megaphone, which Cait starts out with. This ability's damage is also randomized, but if you can get a crit on a big hit, you'll deal some very nice damage. But the cat's best weapon, surprisingly enough, is his other starting item, the Yellow Megaphone. It's one of the weapons that gives you access to the Lucky Jockey skill, which increases your luck by 100 while riding a Moogle. You of course summon this combat companion with the Let's Ride skill, and as long as you stay on its back, you get a very significant increase to your luck stat, which also increases your crit chance. So works great with both abilities I just mentioned, and then you can also stack Moogle Sentinel on top to keep the Moogle alive for longer, and Moogle Vanguard will increase the damage of your summon by 10%. So these buffs will really help you get the most out of Cait Sith's luck-based skills. Let us know your favorite weapon and character in the comments, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and leave a like on this one if you enjoyed it. You can also watch our previous video on more amazing items you don't want to miss by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.